Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to Marijuana SA Weekly. It's Andy and Dean, and today we're going to be having a short interview with the founder of Grow One Africa, who's going to be telling us a little bit how personally he's seen cannabis create jobs in South Africa. It's been a massive driver of the channel. It's pretty much why we are here where we are today, because of the cannabis industry opening up. And yeah, personally, we strongly believe that South Africa could do with the jobs that cannabis could create in a legal open market. However, maybe the sector's not there fully yet, but there has been massive strides. And today we're going to hear a little bit more about it. Dean, what are you expecting to hear today?
So I'm super excited to be having Cobus on and to talk about this topic. You know, jobs and cannabis are obviously things that you hear quite a lot of the time, and it's actually something you hear a lot of the time from sort of government as well as one of the sort of entry positive. There's multiple positives that we know, but they're always slow behind. And I think we're going to be surprised to hear at some of sort of what the Grow One Africa network has done. And once again, even in our own personal capacity, we've managed to create some jobs in this space. So I think this is going to be a topic that's highly interesting and also valuable for the broader community.
I think on that, let's bring in Cobus, the expert. Hey, Cobus, thanks so much for joining us today to answer a little bit of Q&As around cannabis and job creation. Personally, I'm going to jump straight in with a bit of a question. Obviously, we know cannabis can create jobs within South Africa, and it's proving to be quite a good thing for South Africa in terms of, obviously, we know we have a bit of a crisis on our hands. But just in your small personal network, how many people do you roughly think cannabis, just around you, how many people do you think that have been now empowered or employed by cannabis in some form or another?
Sure. Yeah, loaded question. I think in our direct group at the moment, I think our website says just about 1,200 jobs within the group. That's for 22 clubs across the country, of which about 130 are cultivators and processors. And then there's indirect jobs, and there's about 700 ancillary jobs just within that network. So a small group like us, at least 2,000 jobs. And then if you do the math, there's at least 200 clubs operational or shops operational across the country that I know of. It's at least 10 times that.
Yeah.
I don't speak to a lot of people these days that don't work in cannabis,
Yeah. Likewise.
It's actually astounding.
And Cobus, on the sectors in the industry, where do you see sort of most of the employment taking place?
Yeah. You see, I think it's always a gold rush for cultivation. Everybody thinks they must start growing, but it's all these ancillary services that's actually picking up quite a bit. There's skills required in every sector. I think if we look at the 130 cultivators and processors, each of them have assistants with various roles. At the clubs and at the shops, it's anything from a cleaner all the way through to an administrative assistant, a bud tender, managerial roles. There's finances involved. We've got compliance officers. So it's a very difficult answer, actually. I think it's such an infancy that the industry is in, but I think it's evident that there's opportunities everywhere. You just have to apply your skill and your passion, and there is definitely a role or a job for you within the cannabis industry. That's for sure.
Amazing. Yeah, I really like that, because most people who are sort of looking at the industry first, they think the only way to get involved is to grow. It's such a broad industry that it's really not like that. But on that point, are we seeing enough sort of skills development and trained people to fill these roles, or do you feel we kind of have a lack of skills currently that still needs to be developed?
Look, it's a definite fact that there's a skills shortage at the moment for licensed facilities. I speak to recruitment officers and people looking to place people in licensed facilities. But it's expected, our education system has to catch up. We have to, it's a typical old thing. How do you place someone without experience? Where do they get that experience from?
Yeah.
And then it all comes back to, accredited training and things like that. But I think at the moment, it's clearly obvious that a lot of the guys that thought they are great growers and they can scale up to commercial size didn't have a clue they have to make 6,000 clones at a time, and that they kill their own passion by doing it. So they do realize that it's all these these other roles stepping in, like I said, the quality management systems, people doing the audits and the surveillance and things like that. There's a bunch of consultants doing that. But then the practical work of running an operation like a licensed facility, this is a factory running. You need skilled people in each and every position. So I think there is a bit of a vacuum at the moment between proper avenues where you can get this, not just training, but also experience. I feel the clubs do fulfill a bit of a role there. I know of a couple of oaks that started as interns or, maybe studied something cannabis related, then started working in a club, maybe progressed to cultivating or processing. I know of a cultivator that actually, and I think he could have been our first official cultivator being placed overseas as a proper cultivator in Spain. That also came through the club ranks. So there are ways and vessels where people can have access to market. But at this point, or actually get into the market, but at this point, you definitely have to develop your skills, to the highest standard you possibly can, and then look for those courses to accredit yourself. But yeah, the shortage is real.
On those courses that you mentioned, do you think the universities are going to adapt? I mean, obviously, there's been movement from the government side. Do you think the universities are going to adapt certain specific courses for cannabis, or do you think we're going to rely on our sort of like agricultural history within South Africa to cross-train into cannabis?
I think it's inevitable. I'm of the opinion that we do cultivate the best cannabis in the world. And it's going to be up to us as the cannabis sector to force, these institutions into upskilling the future generations, in appropriate courses. So personally, we're involved with, I'm involved and our company's involved with some universities. We're doing some commercial research and development projects. I think you change the policies at university level before you change it at national level. I think you implement all these cannabis master plan structures with the students. If a legal student has to do a project on a labor-related topic, why not make it an example within a Dagga club where someone gets fired for smoking on the job? Let's plant these seeds, and they will definitely come along. Luckily, universities are businesses as well, so they do see the potential in this. And I really think it's up to the industry and the industry experts to formalize these projects with institutions of higher learning. There's some great examples of private sector training institutions that's doing their bit. And if, the rest of us can just connect all these dots and make sure that the training is sufficient. And, even guys like you're going to be leaders in this industry in a couple of years. Like, who do you want to see working within your businesses? Who do you want to work with? So let's get that training up and running. So I think it's a dual responsibility between the universities and the industry to kickstart that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually something we've really tried to push sort of in our own company. Training and cross-training for us is such a highly important factor because we want to, push skills development as much as possible. Yep. And I think that's also kind of one of the things that has, allowed us to continue to grow in the industry. And it's just sort of a concentration on constant sort of skills development. A little bit of what the government has to say. In February of this year, Ramaphosa said that the industry could be worth about 130,000 jobs. Where do you think we are currently with this? Is this a overestimation, or do you think they're not looking at sort of the industry that's already been around for millennia?
I mean, it's the same. It's the same government that says there's 900,000 farmers growing cannabis in our country, right? So the 130,000 jobs, I don't know how you want to quantify it, because I think it's in excess of that already, like way more than that. I think the potential is a lot more than that. Like I said, just in our little group, we are getting significant numbers. So where do you also draw the line? How are you employed by the cannabis industry? Are you just making some money out of it? Are you a consultant in it? Are you full-time employed by it? Because now that people realize you can apply your skills within this industry, there's all these different industries starting to overlap. So yes, I don't like to call out our president, but I think he grossly underestimates what the industry already is, before formalization, so to speak.
I get really giddy with talking about jobs, because I mean, like, realistically, the start of like our business back in the day, and this is a bit of a history, but like it was, I always just thought, like, there's so many people in South Africa that really don't have much, but if they could just grow some cannabis on their, on their small little piece of land that they've got, like the benefits from that is just profound, you know, whether it's medicinally or whether it's going to create a living, you know, sustenance living for that person or that family is just like something, and it's at no harm to the country. So it's, yeah, I get quite passionate about the job creation side of things. And Cobus, on that, though, we have unfortunately run out of time, but it was very inspiring to hear from you today. And yeah, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and hopefully we'll reconnect in a little bit of time and see some more jobs being created.
Thanks a lot. Happy days. Thanks for having me.
Just amazing. Like the thought of like an industry that, you know, South Africa could create like 500,000 jobs from cannabis. And it's not just cannabis. It's not just growing. It's marketing. I mean, like even for us, like, you know, we in the grow equipment space, but we've got people doing like, you know, basically almost full time doing thumbnails for like our media channels and like
editing.
yeah, video editing. And like those are all like, I mean, printing, you know, we have massive printing bulls. We definitely employ courier drivers for the deliveries. You know, it's just good to see.
In our area, we're one of the only places where the courier comes, you know, twice every day. We have a good relationship, so he sometimes just pops in to say what's up. Yeah. But you know, there's the sort of sub businesses that we work with are large. I mean, just on local suppliers, I'm chatting to 20, 30 different people a week. You know, we're dealing with sort of large gardening chains and, you know, all these different businesses. And then like Oba said, you know, there's accountants in the space. I mean, you know, it just goes more and more. So like lawyers, whatever you're studying, you know, if you're passionate about cannabis, you could still go into it one day. But I must just say, you know, it is also super hard work in this industry. So the passion is an important part of it, because it's with slow legislation and with constantly having to maneuver around changes, it does weigh on you sometimes, but you know, we keep driving it forwards. And you know, it's really refreshing to hear from someone like Cobus, who's done a lot of work in this space, to hear just how many people are interacting with the network, and we hope to see it continue to grow.
Yeah, and likewise with the education. I mean, it's not there yet. You know, hopefully there's channels helping a little bit of the way with the education side of things, but it's I think the universities will adapt. I mean, there are some obviously lots of short courses, like accredited short courses. I think that some we might even be assisting with down the line. And it's just good to see that there's signs of hope. Let's just hope the government comes through and doesn't curveball us and change something down the line. But I think I think around the room today, it's optimism and good vibes. So I think on that, I'll close out and just say thanks to you guys for watching all the way to the end. Please make sure you've liked and subscribed. It's always helps us a long way. Leave us a comment if you also agree or disagree with the 130,000 jobs created. And otherwise, until next week. Peace, guys.
Peace, guys.